Soundstripe.
Welcome back into another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of movie stores and packed movie theaters, then this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs, joined with me by my co-host, Dakota Lowry.
Hey, what's up, man?
Gotta say hi to the people.
I know, sorry, I was reading through something. Got a little caught up there.
Also joining us this week is Ernie Ferguson.
Yeah, and I will not fall for another banana in my tailpipe.
Oh, just going right into it, aren't we?
Well, I mean, you got to drop some words of wisdom from the movie.
So, I know we both watched Psych, and they mentioned that in one episode. I didn't know that's what the movie was from. So yeah, it was pretty fun to watch that, and I know Dakota doesn't watch Sight, but
I started it at one point and I didn't get to finish it. I didn't get my way through it.
I'm going back through it for I think the third or fourth time as we speak.
Oh, I passed double digits a long time ago. But anyways, welcome in, guys, to another episode. First episode came out last week. We had 20 listens, which is about 20 more than I thought we'd get. So hey, yay for us, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good. Thanks for that. I mean, that's a pretty good turnout for the first episode.
Yeah, that's like the people that feel sorry for us. You're like, hey, there we go.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I like post it on Facebook. People were probably like, "Oh, I'll listen to it," and then they listen to it. They probably technically it doesn't show how long people listen to it, so it might just be like the first 2 minutes of the show. But
I say, if you showed a breakdown of it, it's probably just the first like 3 minutes of the show. Then it's like, I got better things to do.
Hey, 20 listens is 20 listens though. That's all
that's
I'm
all that
focused
matters.
on.
We're going after clickbait. That's all we want.
Exactly.
There you go.
So last week, our first episode, we did Raiders of the Lost Ark, much to the chagrin of my dad, who's not a big Indiana Jones fan.
Oh man,
really? That's kind of surprising.
That is.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. He thought we were doing Aliens, and he was excited.
Oh, well.
But anyways, this week we're doing Beverly Hills Cop, 1984. The new one came out just last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have Ernie, have you checked that out yet?
I have not. I'm sad to say I don't have a Netflix account. So
Ernie, this is 2024. What are you doing?
I mean, I have Paramount, Hulu, all this other kind of stuff. Just don't have Netflix. I used to like mooch off my daughter's account, but she's usually on it, so I can't watch while she's watching. So
Yeah, I felt that. Well, I know a few people that watched it. They said it was pretty good. So that was kind of the new one came out. So that's kind of why we decided to do this one because I know Dakota. Have you ever seen it?
I've seen like clips and stuff from it, but I've never actually sat down and watched it all the way through. So
yeah, that was me too. I'd seen like parts of it through, but this was the first time I ever sat down and like watched it all the way through. So Ernie, did you go watch it in theaters since you're much older than us?
No, Glenn and Judy Ferguson wouldn't let me go at 10 years old go watch Beverly Hills Cop since it was rated R. But now, when it came out on VHS tape, I watched it numerous times at other people's house. So I did that, and then also when it started coming out on HBO, because again, Glenn and Judy Ferguson didn't have HBO at our house, so I had to go watch it at somebody else's house too.
Yeah, before I watched it, my dad was telling me, that he liked it, but he said, Eddie Murphy's got a foul mouth, and I watched it, and I was like, compared to most movies these days, I didn't even really notice it.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
It did surprise me. I knew it had language. I really did, but it surprised me how early, and how often that, and not just Eddie Murphy, everybody in the cast, and so that kind of surprised me. It shouldn't surprise me since it was a rated R movie at that time too.
And this this was back when I think we talked about it in last week's show. You know, they didn't have. Well, they probably had PG-13 at this point. I know it was around the early '80s when they just had PG and rated R because Indiana Jones was rated PG,
Hmm.
and we talked
It was
about that last
81, wasn't
week.
it?
Yeah, so sometime around there. So I guess this was PG-13 had probably become a theme by then.
Yeah,
But
PG-13 started in '84, ironically,
Yeah.
with Poltergeist, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which to me that was bloodier than Beverly Hills Cop. But again, Beverly Hills Cop had I don't know how many f bombs in it, like
I had the
just in the first five
language. It
minutes.
also had like
And
some
then it also had
brief
the one
nudity.
scene.
Oh
Yeah, the
yes,
one scene.
yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
I was gonna text you, Dakota, when I was watching it. And I was like, hey, there's there's a brief
there's
scene
a
in here.
club scene. Yes,
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, like this is a little this is a little risque, isn't it? Like,
I don't know. I've seen some movies, even from that time period. I've seen worse.
well, I mean,
But
yeah,
if you're talking about the '80s movies, you're gonna have language galore. You're
oh
gonna
yeah,
have nudity. I mean, you look
yeah,
like Lethal Weapon, things like that. Just and then
yeah,
not the high class stuff. It's just going to be showing stuff just to show stuff because
hmm,
I mean, my goodness, all the directors and all the actors were up on cocaine and all that other kind of stuff. So hey, let's go, let's get violence, let's cuss, and let's have nudity. That's what I mean. That's what the crazy thing about a bunch of the '80 films are.
hmm,
Well, anyways, Beverly Hills Cops is a 1984 American buddy cop action comedy film directed by Martin Brest. It stars Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, a street smart Detroit detective who visits Beverly Hills, California to solve the murder of his best friend. Judge Reinhold, John Ashton, Ronnie Cox, Lisa Eibacher, Stephen Burkoff, Paul Reiser, and Jonathan Banks appear in supporting roles. The film grossed 234 million at the box office on a budget of just 13 million, and it holds a 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, which so all around very successful movie.
yeah. And I see here that it's as of 2024, it's grossed a total of $730 million since it's been released in 1984.
Which is a crazy thing. Also, is that it was in the movie theaters for 33 weeks, and that's unheard of. I mean,
Yeah, that's
nowadays,
like 3/4 of the year, isn't it?
yeah,
Almost.
it came out in December and it went through like July and it was still like number I think like 19 on making money in July.
Hmm.
So I mean that's one thing you don't see also is you don't see movies staying in the theaters because they'll get streaming and all that other kind of stuff real quick.
And I think it actually even shows now, like when this new Beverly Hills Cop came out, like it didn't even go to theaters. Like it went just straight to the movies, you know. And
Hmm.
it's Suggs, I had seen the other day where you had posted that, like that's a movie we would have enjoyed to go to the theaters and see, but like, we didn't even have that option for that nowadays.
Is yeah. Don't get me started on that. I have I have a lot of opinions on the state of movies these days. And yeah, 33 weeks. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Nobody today you can even comprehend that today because now it's hard to get a movie to stay for more than a month,
Hmm.
and it's usually before it comes on to streaming.
Hmm.
But
I'd be curious post COVID what movie has stayed in the theaters the longest. Uh, that's
mm,
another rabbit trail for another time, though.
yeah,
Oh, it
I would have.
absolutely is.
Yeah, I don't want to get down on that because we'll spend too long going. But anyways, Axel Foley is a plainclothes Detroit detective whose latest unauthorized sting operation goes sour when two uniformed officers intervene, resulting in a high-speed chase through the city that causes widespread damage. Axel's superior, Inspector Douglas Todd, reprimands him for his reckless behavior and threatens to fire him unless he changes his ways. Okay, so first off, you get full Eddie Murphy very quickly,
Very immediate.
which is great because that's the best part of the movie is just him being that character. But but it's immediate. You know, you get this whole him being undercover, and then the chase scene. I don't. One of the things that struck me was there was a police car, and this truck that they're in is like an 18-wheeler that has like two trailers. This police car like gets in front of it like it's gonna try to stop it. And I'm like, what genius thought of that?
To be fair, I do think that is an actual police tactic that they use, is like just try to get in front of them and try to slow them down because a lot of people don't want to damage their
I
own
wouldn't do that
vehicle.
to an 18-wheeler.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
not,
No,
oh, no, absolutely not. But
I get that. I mean, I get that for like, but at this point, I mean, it's a 18-wheeler with like two trailers on it. I don't, you really think that's going to stop it, or that they're worried about the truck?
Well,
no, I don't think they are.
that this is where you can see, you know, where Eddie Murphy was hired 2 weeks before the movie started. Because I mean, I'm sure you did the research where this originally was going to be either Mickey Rourke or going to be Sylvester Stallone. I mean, Sylvester Stallone did a whole bunch of rewrites and all this kind of stuff. Eventually, he ended up creating the movie Cobra. He was in '86. But I mean, you're talking about Eddie Murphy comes in 2 weeks beforehand. I mean, he's 24 years old when he's doing this too. And so you look at the opening scene, it is action. I mean, that's what I mean. For an '80s movie, it is an action, type of thing. Which the crazy thing is, if you look in the background, watch all the people in the street. I mean, everybody's watching this. It's like they got all the fans on the street. They're watching. Hey, this is a car chase. There wasn't any pretending or anything about it.
Yeah,
Also, at the beginning, what was it in the boxes? Was that cigarettes?
Cigarettes. Yep.
cigarettes. Yeah,
So why is that like a big sting operation? I don't.
Selling it without the like taxes on it and stuff like that. That's when he talked
Okay.
about
yeah,
the stamp,
Okay.
that the government stamp on it. So I mean,
Okay. See, I
you
missed
know,
that. Okay, that makes sense.
that's '80s problems.
Well,
Cigarettes.
I was so confused. I was like, cigarettes? Why? Why? But okay, that makes sense. I guess. Yeah. So Axel arrives at his apartment to find it has been broken into by his childhood friend Michael Mikey Tendino. Mikey had done prison time for a car theft the pair had committed when they were younger, but has since landed a role as a security guard in Beverly Hills thanks to a mutual friend, Jenny Summers. Mikey shows Axel some German bearer bonds, and Axel wonders how he got them, but chooses not to question him about it. After going out to a bar, they return to Axel's apartment, where two men, Zach and Casey, knock Axel unconscious, confront Mikey about the stolen bearer bonds, and murder him. Um, I did want like one point out. So when they're at the bar and they're like reminiscing, I guess, about the cars that they used to steal, and like he's just like he's talking about, he's like, remember this, and then he starts laughing like they can't even get, and they're just going back and forth like they're not even really explaining the story, but then they're just laughing. That's such a dude way to tell a story.
it really is. So, actually, fun fact about that: like most of those comedic lines were improvised.
Oh, I
And so
believe that.
that's why they're sitting there laughing at it so hard, is because a lot of those scenes that you see like that were actually just improvised and weren't even scripted. And so it was literally just like the director would come to them and say, "Hey, look, like your two friends reminiscing about this. Go."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
believe
that's
that.
I'll tell you what, this is a big difference if you watch Eddie Murphy's first two movies, which is Trading Places and then 48 Hours. It's full on Saturday Night Live Eddie Murphy. He is on. He's got his characters. He's loud. He's brash. But one thing I saw the big difference here in Beverly Hills Cop is that you start to see it with him and Mikey, is that he actually is doing some decent acting, like being serious. And
Hmm.
that was something,
Yeah.
a guy who was playing Gumby on Saturday Night Live, you have him, I mean, showing a little bit of like acting chops, I thought, throughout the whole entire movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought his acting was pretty good. I mean, he played that character great. I mean, I've said it before. First off, but whatever. Axel Foley is just a great name. That might be one of my favorite character names that I've. But in just the character of it, he just does a great job. And to
Hmm.
me, if you have a good character, I said it last week with Indiana Jones. I gave the movie an 8.5, I think, but I said that the movie's must watch because the Indiana Jones character is iconic. If you have a great character, that can make even a decent movie, just much better. And he's a great character.
Hmm.
There's no doubt about that.
I mean, I mean, just thinking about modern days, you all talked last week about who could play Indiana Jones. Well, is there any actor nowadays that can play Axel Foley?
If it would 100% be Kevin Hart, right? That's who they would cast.
But see,
I'm not saying. I'm not
That's who
saying.
they would cast, yeah, but
I'm not
I don't think
saying
he'd
he
be the
would
best
do the
fit.
same job. I'm just saying if they
and
did a
that's
remake, that's who they
that's
would
the thing.
cast.
That's why I like this version of Eddie Murphy before he goes off deep end and just is wild all the time. I mean, because you have somebody like Robin Williams who is on 24/7. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's going, 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 going. Even somebody like Jim Carrey and Kevin Hart, there is no slowdown with them. And that's one thing I did like, and I said earlier about Eddie Murphy in this one is there were some slowdowns, like later on when he looked straight at Maitland and tell him that he's going to get him. I mean, that was you're not getting that from those other physical comedians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really shows a very broad range of his acting skills. And I think it kind of helped in his, especially in Eddie Murphy's career, showing people that like, hey, I can be the funny guy, but I can also be the serious guy.
Yeah.
And I thought this whole bar thing with his and him going to the bar with his friend and kind of built the character because it kind of shows where he came from. He was a
Hmm.
because you would think a cop, a guy breaks into your apartment, even if he is an old friend and he has these German bearer bonds, you would, a cop would be more curious, but he's just kind of letting it slide because and it shows like really where he came from is more of a criminal. Now he's a cop and is kind of so I thought that was some pretty good character building for him.
Which it plays
Hmm.
up when it plays up the fish out of water character when he goes to Beverly Hills when you have all
Mm,
these straight
yeah,
laced, by the book kind of guys,
Hmm.
and whereas Axel is he's heartfelt, he is going by gut like he told Rosewood, and I thought that that is a good way early on before he even shows up in Beverly Hills that there is a difference between him and these other police officers.
Hmm.
yeah. And also before we move on, I know Detroit's a bad. It's supposed to, that it has a reputation for being this
Hmm.
crime, especially raiding city. I guess especially back in these days. But how bad does a city have to be for someone to take a gun and execute someone in the hallway of an apartment and nobody comes out? Like
Well, I
not,
mean,
not one person.
it wasn't the Ritz Carlton, so I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
when that happened, I was like, nobody's coming out. But then I was like, you know what? That's probably realistic. I probably wouldn't come out either.
Let's say, yeah.
yeah. Just looking at like quick statistics here, like in 1985, Detroit had 636 murders, which was the nation's largest of the year. So
Yep.
like, yeah, that fits the bill pretty well.
So pretty realistic.
But speaking of that scene too, the thing that really like I don't know that kind of I was like I didn't really get it was he looks at him and he says I don't ever want to see you again or like in that place again or whatever, and then he just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Well,
And
he's not gonna see him again.
which I get like yeah you're not going to see him again, but I'm like man like yeah I guess you just didn't give him the option just not ever show up again.
He gave him a glimmer of hope before he shot him in the face or the head.
It was the back of the head, yeah.
So Axel asked to be assigned to investigate Mikey's murder, but Inspector Todd won't allow it due to his close ties to Mikey. Under the guise of taking vacation time, Axel travels to Beverly Hills to solve the crime himself. He finds Jenny working in an art gallery and learns about Mikey's ties to Victor Maitland, the gallery's owner. Posing as a flower delivery man, Axel goes to Maitland's office to question him about Mikey, but is thrown out a window by Maitland's bodyguard and arrested for trespassing. He was thrown out a window. Did you guys know that?
Oh,
Absolutely was.
He,
There was
that's
a perfectly good door and the pane right beside it, but he was thrown out the window.
I thought it cracked me up when it happened because I'm like, this is your boss's place of business. Like you just thrown him out the door and you just really have to break
Yeah.
the window,
We're going to make a point with this.
and then he
and
gets arrested.
yeah, guns ablazing. They come in pointing the guns at him.
Which I mean, I get it. He's a high respected. I'm sure he's got his own people in the police department, but I,
Well, it's an easy way to address race without making it the central issue.
exactly.
Hmm.
Just like at the hotel, also it that way because if they won, they wouldn't chuck Sylvester Stallone out because Sylvester Stallone would get up and he'd be rat-tat-tatting them with all sorts of guns. But
Hmm.
it was again, it was an easy way in 1984 to address race right then and there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up because there was a scene where I thought it showed how this is a different kind of police movie where he's in Maitland's office and Maitland like brings all his guys out and they kind of surround him. If that's Stallone, he's taking them all out
Oh
at once
yeah,
Yeah.
by
and he may
himself with nothing but his fist.
yes, and he may get a scratch.
Exactly. But Eddie Murphy,
Not even going to
it's
break a sweat.
he's getting carried out like you would like a regular cop surrounded by eight bodyguard type guys would. I mean, that's believable. So it is, and that shows just it's a different type of it's a comedy, but it's still an action movie. It's still a cop movie.
Hmm.
Which at
Yeah,
this
I think it
time,
does that several times throughout the movie too, where it kind of shows that it's like, hey, we're not going to be unrealistic about this thing. Like, and I know this is talking about later on in the movie, but when he's talking to Billy in the car and he says, "Hey, look, you know you can't go in there. You're a cop. You can't
yeah,
just go in there and look around without probable cause." You know, like I think it does a great job of showing like, hey, we're trying to be a little bit more realistic in this, as opposed to just, hey, we're going to shoot 30 rounds out of one magazine and an 8-round magazine pistol. You know.
Also, I'm looking at my notes here for this scene. I have my notes this week, Dakota. I didn't
I'm
lose
proud
them.
of you. I'm proud of you.
I did write down. Oh, what the heck was Victor wearing? Was it? So they come
like
in. He's like, it's like a robe.
it's like some Asian like type of robe or something like that. Like I don't know when a ninja is not wearing something, he puts on that long robe.
Like, would like a komodo or something like that?
Yeah, something to that effect.
I don't think that. I actually don't think that's the right.
No,
Oh,
that's what the women wear, but that's I mean that's but it's that long. If I had to guess within the 80s, I don't remember seeing it. It probably has shoulder pads in it too, because well, I mean
it
everybody has shoulder
seemed
pads.
it seemed weird for. I mean, I guess, and he's like what? He's Russian, right? I'm guessing.
I don't. He's European somewhere. I don't know what
Yeah.
he is supposed to be.
I mean, I assume Russian because Victor, but I guess it could be other places. But I don't know. I thought that was weird. Was this after he went into the hotel and got the suite? Or I think
He go.
he went to the
Yeah,
hotel.
I think he went to the hotel first, and then he went to Victor Maitland's office.
I love that scene. I find him very believable as far as the guy that can bullcrap his way through anything.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
Some of
that's the
this,
hotel. The
yeah,
hotels. I mean, he lit when he go. I don't know if we're at the hotel or not, but you know, he, he goes in there. He hears the lady before him say they tell the lady before him we're out. We're booked full. And so then he just kind of comes up there and just starts going with his spiel from Rolling Stone magazine and all that kind of stuff. And he's doing an article on
yeah.
Michael Jackson. It just starts rolling with it. The
What?
funniest part though was when the manager came over there and they said the price of the room, and he kind of stopped and was like, "Is that a problem? No, that's not a problem." I mean,
Yeah,
that wasn't saying anything, but his facial expressions were hilarious.
yeah. It
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of like that point where like, okay, I'm kind of too far into this lie to back out, but that's a steep price.
Even in the '80s, I mean, 235. Even today, 235 a night is
Yeah.
pretty expensive. But man, like it's like you said, man. I think just showing that whole like this dude can bullcrap his way out of anything and that he gets himself into. He can just talk himself out of it.
And then
You know.
he exits the hotel and sees the guys in it. Was this right around the time Thriller came out? I can't remember exactly what
Yes,
year.
this is
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. Yeah, Thriller may have come out in I think '84. I think it did, but yeah. So I mean, he makes a joke about writing an article about Michael Jackson, but yet walks down the street, sees two guys in parachute pants and things like that, and
Yeah.
just turns around and just turns around and laughs about him.
Your laugh. I
The
was just thinking
that was it. That was it right there.
his laugh killed me the whole movie. That was one of my favorite things of the movie was his laugh. It would make me laugh just hearing him laugh.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Thriller came out in 1982, and then the movie or the documentation or whatever came out in 1983. So it was around that time where it was extremely popular around in the area.
Ernie, be honest, did you have a red jacket?
No, I didn't. I again, I wasn't allowed to listen to radio, so I snuck radio in, but I ended up being more of the Prince fan later on in life, and I really wasn't a big Michael Jackson fan. I was more Duran Duran, Billy Idol, that
Why
type of stuff.
why is it that everybody is either Prince or Michael Jackson? It's
Hmm.
like Jacob or Edward.
Yeah,
That's
I,
what
I've noticed that a
I
lot.
just, I'll be honest. Ernie at that age did not like Thriller. I did not like Thriller at all. I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not stuff like that. I didn't like. I can't remember who the old man Victor. I can't remember the guy who did the talking part on Thriller. I just didn't like it. But now, I could sit there and listen to Purple Rain and probably quote
Oh,
every lyric from the album of
yes.
Purple Rain, though.
Same.
Vincent Price.
Vincent Price, there you go. Oh man, his voice was spooky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Purple Rain, one of my top five favorite songs. But
Hmm.
that's another topic for another
Yeah.
for another day. Um, at the local police station, Beverly Hills Police Department, Lieutenant Andrew Bogomil assigns Sergeant John Taggart and Detective Billy Rosewood to follow Axel. They have a humiliating and comical encounter with him when he temporarily disables their car. As a result, Billy and Taggart do not get along with Axel at first, but the three begin to develop a mutual respect after they fool a robbery at a striptease
Oh,
bar.
hold on. Can we time out? Because did we skip the art gallery?
So we didn't skip it, but it was in the.
Okay, because I'm sorry. For me, Axel and Serge. Hello, my name is Serge. How may I help you? That. Oh my goodness. My brother and I still quote that to this day. Achmel, Axel, Achwell, Axel. Say Mr. Foley is here. I mean, again, it's somebody that can stand toe to toe on improv with
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. That, oh my goodness, I still laugh. And I quote that and I quote that, and that to me is a very important piece. He's like, get out of here. I mean, that's man, I can't let that part of the movie pass because
Sorry.
I will sit there, rewind, and I will watch that over and over and over again because I again it may be stupid, but my goodness, it makes me laugh every
No,
time
no,
And
because
even
Eddie
and I
Murphy
think
he's playing the straight man.
yeah. Yeah. But even I think later on in the movie though, he calls back to that scene too, doesn't he? When they
Well,
go back to the art gallery with Billy. I think
yes,
it's with Billy and Staggart,
yes,
isn't it? And
he goes
he
with
looks at him and says, "Hey, can you get him an espresso?" He
uh,
said- he,
with the lemon twist. I make it myself. It's real good. I mean,
yep, there it is. That was
the
it.
Surge. I mean, that's one of those again. That goes back to also Axel Foley being different than everybody else because look at all the people he has chemistry with, and it's not the big wigs, it's all the people that help at the hotel, whether it's Damon
Mm-hmm.
Wayans who gives them the bananas to put in the
Mm-hmm.
tailpipes. I mean, it's just Serge and Serge cooks in this whole entire movie. The little he's in it,
yes.
Serge steals the scene, and he makes a career. And Bronson Pinchot makes a career off of Serge.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Hey, make the most of your time on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, glad you brought that up because we did kind of skim through that.
So
But you're
I
right.
just I couldn't skip over Surge. I'm
No, I
sorry.
don't. I thought I'm glad you brought it up. I kind of we just kind of went through the plot here, and wasn't really thinking about it, but that was a good point. But getting on to the to later, you get to the hotel and him messing with the cops is one of my favorite parts of this movie. Just the sending them room service, and I identify with Billy Rosewood. I mean, I'm not going to turn down free food if someone's giving it to me, especially food that good.
And that's
No,
what
absolutely not.
makes this I think a good movie too is the chemistry between Axel Rosewood and Taggart
Mm-hmm.
because it is good. And and he
Hmm.
like he said he meant it he meant that for real. He meant I mean it was really they're cops look after each other type of things. Yes, he wanted to get away from him, but he was like, hey, enjoy this type of thing, and that's why the whole entire relationship with those three throughout the whole entire movie was key to building this movie. Also,
Hmm. And I also think, especially in that scene, the thing that stood out to me was that it kind of calls out to like how smart of a detective that Axel actually is. I think
hmm
recognizing when they left the police precinct, that they were telling him and that he knew that hey, they're driving the brown Ford over there or the tan Ford over there, and knowing that they would be parked out front, knowing that he was there, even if they did see him, or even if he did see them, like I think it's important pointing that out, knowing that hey, like he might cut up or whatever and have this good chemistry, but he really is a good detective at the end of the day.
you
Yeah,
see
and
his. Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I was just gonna say you get that even more when they go to the strip bar,
Hmm.
because he just sees things that, I mean, not that Taggart and Rosewood are not good cops, but they kind of are your regular dude by the book, and he's, he
Mm-hmm.
came up from a different upbringing, so he just sees things differently, and it just shows it. There's just more things that compound on each other and show just how good of a detective he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see. I mean, you see it throughout the whole entire movie. Whether it's knowing what the coffee beans were for, talking to the guys about how he's pretending like he's a inspector. That's just using that goes that street smarts versus by the book type of thing, and you see that
Mhm.
Yep.
over and over and over again.
And I love how they stop the guys in the strip bar. He goes up to he said, "Philip, is that you? You
Yeah.
changed, man." Oh gosh. Um, Continuing his investigation, Axel sneaks into one of Maitland's warehouses where he finds crates full of coffee grounds. He suspects that they have been used to pack drugs, since he knows they are often used to cover the scent of drugs from police dogs. Axel also discovers that many of Maitland's crates have not gone through customs. So I th- I thought when I was watching this, I thought, man, it was really easy for him to sneak into a customs warehouse. And I love
Yeah.
that that became his cover story with him being an investigator and how easy it was. He's like, man, this was really easy. How many? And then he just uses it as a story, because the whole time
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, that don't make me feel good if I was had my stuff going through customs.
Hopefully
Well,
they've tightened that security up a little bit now.
well, no, that's part of what Victor liked about it is that he could go through there and just have his stuff go through there and not worry about being checked on and things of that nature.
Yeah, I
Which,
think it kind of showed how easily exploitable it was in order for him to be able to do stuff like that. You know.
yeah,
And
which,
again, though, Eddie Murphy, his way to bullcrap, like the police guard, and just the way that he completely convinces him that he's an inspector, and he gets them to give him everything. I completely would have bought it probably myself, because he's just, the way he tells stories and bullcraps his way is, it's very believable.
Mm-hmm.
which goes back to after they get back from the strip club. I kind of passed on this and I forgot about this, but the whole story that he gave the lieutenant, the super cop, how they were super cops and they saw all this and he was flying by the hip. And what the funny thing is, you can see Taggart, the actor, he's having to cover his mouth because he's laughing
Mm-hmm.
because Eddie Murphy's just riffing all that. But again, that goes back to a callback later on when they tell the story
Mhm.
to the police chief, and Taggart finally does agree with that. But that the super cop part of that story also was funny. I thought also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I hey, look, I guess this says a lot about me, but I 100% would have not have told the truth. I would have wrote that story
Oh yeah.
all the way.
I don't know anybody that wouldn't, honestly.
Yeah, when he told him the truth, I'm like, "What are you doing? Why would you do that?"
But now, if my partner was Rosewood, I would have told the truth too, because Rosewood can't. There's a reason that Bogomil had Rosewood take Axel to the border or wherever to the city to the edge of the city limits because he know he'd
Mm-hmm.
screwed up.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, don't knock on Rosewood. Besides
Actually,
Eddie,
Oh, I
I did
love
think about that.
Rosewood.
Ro- Rosewood is like my favorite character in this movie, besides Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
And I didn't even, so that actor, I didn't even know he was in this when I started to watch it. But I really, I know he's in the Santa Claus movies, and he's been in other stuff. I really like him.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to get Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's what I first saw him on, and I had to get that
Mm-hmm.
character out of my head. But oh, Rosewood's one of my. I like Rosewood even better in Beverly Hills Cop 2. Uh, he he turns into Dirty Harry. It, it's funny. I like that.
Shoot, I know this is getting a little ahead of the plot here, but he goes a little dirty Harry in this movie.
He does with a snub nosed pistol. You know,
Mm-hmm.
which talking about Eddie Murphy's ad libbing, like the police chief when he comes in after they bust him in the warehouse, he has the piece of paper rolled up in his hand. Well, that is the script that they had written that day because they were changing things up so much, and he just brought it out there because he was reading his lines before he even came out there. So that's how many times they were changing the script, changing the lines throughout the whole entire movie. That guy actually just had the script in his hand.
I did not know that actually.
I'm a wealth of useless information. You'll find that out, Dakota.
My wife tells me that on a quite consistent basis.
I don't. Yeah, Ernie though takes it to another level.
Yeah, so fun fact for those of you that don't know, Ernie was actually my high school history teacher.
Yes.
I learned this in 10th and 11th grade in high school that he's just a wealth of random facts.
Yes. My wife will tell you. I have knowledge a mile wide and an inch deep.
Oh
Caleb might
gosh.
have to think about that one for a while.
Just a little bit. It's one of those he's going to text you tomorrow and say, "I finally get it."
Oh gosh. After being arrested again, this time after a scuffle with. Oh.
Oh man.
After being arrested again, this time after a scuffle with Zach at Maitland's country club, Axel attempts to alert Bogomil that Maitland must be a smuggler. But Beverly Hills Police Chief Hubbard, who has learned of Axel's ill-advised investigative actions, orders that he be escorted out of town. Axel convinces Billy to pick up Jenny instead and take her with him to the warehouse where a shipment is due to arrive that day.
That's where we find out that Maitland had herpes syndrome 10.
That was just, of all his stories, this one was without a doubt the best one.
Oh, you see the switch flip too. He looks at the maitre d' and then boom, hands on hips, and there he goes.
Telling Ramon.
Yeah.
And it's a story again where if someone told me that, I would be like, I don't care how powerful the dude is, I'd be like, yeah, you go tell him that yourself.
Exactly.
And then we do actually get to see more of a cool cop, Eddie Murphy, when he throws Zach, I guess his name is, through the breakfast buffet bar, whatever it is.
Yeah, he ruined the buffet bar.
And then sits down and basically tells the dude that he's coming for him, hey, I know it's a comedy film, but it's pretty cool to still be a kick butt, type cop too.
Well, that's where they say this is like kind of the original action comedy.
Mm-hmm.
There was like actions and there were comedy, but they're very rarely, most of the comedies were slapstick, but this was the first one to really not try to. It was probably by emergency because of again when they hired Eddie Murphy so late that it just turned into this type of action comedy, which leads on to Bad Boys, leads on to other stuff like that too later on.
Which is kind of crazy that it's such a snap decision like that influenced so much of this action comedy history of movies that we have. Because I couldn't see like Sylvester Stallone or anybody like that, doing the same thing like this with Eddie Murphy.
I mean, Ernie mentioned it. Sylvester Stallone did do this movie, and it was Cobra. And I know, Dakota, you probably haven't seen that yet, but Cobra, while it's a great movie and I love Cobra, it's a completely different vibe to that movie.
Yes.
So
That's a match in your mouth, and then you're halfway to Cobra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Axel and Jenny break into the warehouse and discover several bags of cocaine inside a crate. Before he can get this newfound evidence to Billy, Maitland arrives with his associates Zach and Casey. Maitland takes Jenny and leaves Axel, ordering that he be killed. Zach then tells Axel that he was the one who killed Mikey. After some hesitation, Billy enters the warehouse and rescues Axel after a brief gunfight during which he kills Casey. I have a note written down right here that said Rosewood is a beast. He just comes in and he freeze, and he one back behind the door and then pulls out and just one bullet shoots the dude.
One bullet, one-handed shot. Like
that's very impressive.
A snub nose.
It does it 2 or 3 times throughout the movie too.
I know.
He doesn't miss when he shoots.
Yeah, when he does shoot.
Yeah, he shot I think 3 times and he killed 3 people. And I think he announced his presence all 3 times about you're under arrest. All 3 times too.
Sure did.
To guys that are shooting, shotguns and automatic weapons at him, but he's going to tell him with his little snub nose, "Hey, you're under arrest."
I love how Jenny is just like, "Hey, let's go break into this warehouse," even though it's like my boss's thing, and there's not really been any evidence. But
Yeah,
hey,
if there's a weak link to the movie, it's Jenny for sure.
yeah, I would
But
agree.
again, in the original script, she was the love interest of Axel Foley. Well, guess what? In 1984, people aren't ready for a mixed race couple, so that ain't happening. So, but again, I guess it was something necessary to get Axel to California and tie Mikey in with California also. But just it wasn't a great actress
Yeah,
moment
Yeah.
either. It
yeah,
wasn't a great part. Period. Didn't matter who the
yeah,
actress was. It just wasn't a great part.
yeah. I agree, and yeah, I guess that's a good point to think back. You know, in 1984, times were different then, but you could
Hmm.
tell she was smitten with him the entire movie.
Yeah.
It was very evident,
Oh yeah.
but hey,
Except for when she does the Eddie Murphy laugh back at him. That was that was good too, and made him laugh right back at her.
but I agree though. If there was a weak link to the movie, it was definitely her. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't really think she added anything to the movie,
She did
honestly.
really. The only thing she added to that scene was to be the character that got kidnapped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they have to go save her. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much
Hmm.
it. Damsel in distress. That's what she
Yeah.
is. Um, where was I at? Oh, Taggart
But that
tracks.
that's
Taggart
where
tracks.
Rosewood blows him
Yes,
away.
yes. Dirty
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taggart tracks Axel and Billy to Maitland's estate, where he joins the two in rescuing Jenny and bringing Maitland to justice. Together, the trio wipe out a number of Maitland's men, including Zach. With Bogomil's help, Axel then fatally shoots Maitland and rescues Jenny.
Which what can I say? One of the things that stood out to me about this scene was the fact that they had GPSs in police cars and cell phones in police cars at that time.
And I think that wasn't it a CB that he had?
It might have been.
Was it a CB? I can't remember.
I can't
I
remember either.
did, and that's probably the 21st century speaking kind of me, but
Yeah, I mean that's one of those things. Again, me being considerably older than both of y'all, that didn't alarm me at all. Just how about that. Uh,
well,
but yeah,
I think the only reason I'm referring to it as a cell phone maybe is because like there was an intentional like, hey, he hung up or hey, he disconnected, you know. Whereas like if it was a CB, you know, it's more of just a you press the button and speak into it like a walkie-talkie radio, you know.
yeah, I guess unless they just turn the knob to turn it off, which again, that's
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one of those things where okay, hey, we're in a rush. What are we gonna do? Oh, he's gonna disconnect them, type of thing.
Hmm.
Now,
Also, also thought this scene was a pure '80s
oh
action movie. It's like a
yes,
compound
Hmm.
type mansion that the big boss has, and they kind of break into, and it just looked to me very stereotypical '80s. And you have your lackeys, with the machine guns that apparently can't hit anybody.
oh, they're just
Hmm.
stormtroopers without the gear.
I mean, there's no these three cops are there's hardly any cover, and they're just not getting
They just
shot.
they shoot above them or in front of them, but they can't hit them. I mean, the only time that anybody got hit was Axel got hit in the arm by a hand cannon,
Yeah,
and
and
that's all he
that
got was merely a flesh wound.
I try not to be too picky of decisions that people make in movies, because obviously it's movies and
Hmm.
it's for dramatic. But why would you kill the dude? First of all, even though this is well, it's the dude that killed Mikey. I get that, but he's not the big bad guy. So the big bad guy's still around. Why would you, when you shoot him, just stand there and just kind of like not be aware of what your surroundings are?
I think
Hmm.
that's the personal part of it, like
The
you said with
personal
Mikey.
part,
I
yeah,
think that is I haven't finished the job, but this is the guy that brought me out here to begin with, and and they started their back and forth before he and Victor started their back and forth. So, but yeah, if the other big bad is still there, yeah, you just don't sit there and like dunk on somebody and just stand over them.
Hmm.
Also, I did want to say I like how maybe this is looking too deep into it, but I liked how they were kind of realistic about like when they're storming this estate. It's they're doing things. Some of the things they're doing is really not legal, I would imagine, but it's like not legal versus what is right. And so I don't know. I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
you kind of get that throughout the movie, and that kind of is a theme. I don't maybe I mean, again it's an action
Yeah.
comedy, so maybe I'm just looking too deep
No,
into
I
that.
Yeah.
But
I think you hit it. I think it is the transformation of the Beverly Hills Police Department into doing things the way Axel
mhm.
did them.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of by the book, they're doing it by gut, just like what Axel told Rosewood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I
but
mean, it really is like he said. I mean, they would sit there and have to wait for like before they even went into the mansion. They'd have to wait 20 minutes for a search warrant to even come about. For them to be able to consider doing something like that.
Now, there's two things on this scene that stick out to me. One, again, Rosewood and Taggart. Rosewood talks about how it reminds him of Butch and Sundance. And
Yeah.
I was waiting for Taggart to say they both died at the end.
that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was looking for.
I think they missed out on that. But then one of the funniest tropes that I love is when police cars are bumper to bumper driving and chasing, and that one steps on the brakes or hits something, and then bam, 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 bam.
Yes,
There's like 50 cars all just rammed into each other. Again, that just gave me a little chuckle right there.
but I did enjoy the realistic lackeys when they see the cops coming in. They're like, "I'm out of here. You stay."
Yep.
Yes, I'm going to get out and drive in this van down this one car lane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
I'm
say
going to
their
get out.
escape plan was good. I just said that their
And then
premise was realistic.
their detouration is just I'm gonna run through the fountain, avoid the car and hit the fountain.
That marble fountain's not going to go anywhere. I mean, that's not a good exit plan. But they weren't thinking. That's why they're lackeys.
Yeah, but
Exactly. Support
and then
characters.
I enjoyed the Taggart, just the go between Taggart and Rosewood. Like you mentioned the Butch and Sundance, but like when he jumps up and says "Please freeze," like they're shooting at him with machine guns.
And he's holding his shield up too while he's doing it too, with
Yeah.
the revolver.
Yeah, like, do you really think they don't know that you're police? What did he tell him? If you do that again, I'm gonna kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think in my head that scene was just entirely, unscripted, and that he just stood up and doing. And the other guy was like, "What do I say back to that? What do I do here now?"
Well, Bogomil fabricates a story to Hubbard that manages to cover for all the participants without discrediting the Beverly Hills Police Department. Axel, realizing that his exploits while on vacation will likely get him fired from the Detroit PD, asks Bogomil to smooth matters over with Inspector Todd. When Axel mentions the possibility of setting up shop as a private investigator in Beverly Hills, Bogomil nervously agrees to wipe the slate clean for him. Later, Taggart and Billy meet Axel as he's checking out of his hotel and pay his bill. He invites them to join him for a farewell drink, and they accept the offer. I thought I really enjoyed Bogomil's story.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty well made up story. I don't know why they wanted him to leave. He seemed to me like he was helping clean up around there.
Well, there's only so many stories that Bogomil can make up, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that helps set up Beverly Hills Cop 2 when y'all watch that, is the relationship between Axel and Bogomil. So again, when y'all watch Beverly Hills Cop 2, it is a seed that I don't think they were expecting a sequel, but it is a seed that is used for the sequel too.
Well, probably not, and that's probably why the first one is so good. Normally when you're not expecting a sequel, you kind of put all into the first one. So, but it's always nice when but I mean, 234 million on a budget of 13. Got to make a
guarantee they weren't thinking that was going to make that much money.
No.
I guarantee you they weren't thinking.
No.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because again, I mean, now at the time, you're talking about one of the hottest people on TV. Again, two successful movies, the hottest person on TV. But again, he's still, I mean, that's still a big risk. Not, I guess, not a big risk, but that's a big reward by putting him in there and letting him cook. And that's the big thing, is if they would have tried to rein him in, that it probably would have hurt the movie if they tried to rein him in.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt, just letting him come up there and flow like he did, just being able to do what he did, I think that's what really makes the movie the whole way. Like we've said several times tonight, but
yeah, I mean, if you put if you looked at this script, you read this plot that we're reading, or look at the script, I would think it's a pretty good movie. It would do okay at the box office. But what makes it is the character of Eddie Murphy playing Axel Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Axel Foley.
Axel Foley, yeah.
But again, just like Indiana Jones last week, same thing with Beverly Hills Cop. The Eddie Murphy as the star makes this movie, and like you said, I don't, if you tried to cast this today, I know who they would cast. They would cast Kevin Hart. I don't know if he would do as good a job, but it would be a hard bar to top.
I think Chris Rock would make a good go at it.
But he's
Uh,
basically
well,
the
the problem
same
is
age.
Chris Rock is in the second one, I believe. So
Oh,
they,
okay. We'll see.
so
Yeah.
he does bring Chris Rock up in that. I mean, not it's like it's not a big role. It's like a Surge type of role that he
Yeah.
has in the second one. But I could see them trying to make it the serious and going like Michael B. Jordan, something to that effect,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see
trying to
that.
make it a little more
Yeah,
serious. Which again, that's it.
hey, I'd watch that. I love.
I'll watch anything with Michael B. Jordan in it.
Yeah,
That
I
that guy
agree.
is
Yeah,
fantastic.
you've Suggs, you've loved Michael B. Jordan ever since Black Panther when he was in
No,
it.
Creed. He was
Creed.
in Creed
Creed, that's what it
first.
was. Yeah, Creed. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said multiple times. I have a few actors that I'll watch anything they're in. He's one of
Mm-hmm.
them. Yeah, I really like him. So, well, I guess that brings us an end to the movie. Overall, I thought I really enjoyed this. I thought I had a good time watching it, even though my son, I was having to take care of my son, and I would have to pause it every now and then to go check on him because he's getting into God knows what. But overall, though, I enjoyed it.
Yes,
Yeah, I think it was great.
it's a good. I don't have to think very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It works good enough for the action, and the comedy takes on that. It takes over after that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's got noise going on in the background?
Is it?
Well, anyways, I don't know.
Oh, well, it's honestly it's probably Kamei watching her lectures.
Well,
Lectures.
any, anyways, so all right, I guess now it's time we'll go through our rankings. So the way we do this, we rank the movie 1 through 10, and then we'll take all our scores and then average it out and put it on our list. Right now, we've only got one movie on our list last week, but hopefully, we'll get to a point where we start having a list where we have these movies ranked. And then after we do that, we're going to put it into categories. So our categories are Blockbuster, which is the highest, and that means it's a must-see movie that everyone should see. Popcorn Worthy is the next highest. It's a really good movie. Cult Classic is the middle. You could think it's middle of the road. You could think it's a good movie, but just not for everybody, or like you just think it's a decent movie, average, whatever. And then the fourth one is Dakota. Help me out. Which was the fourth one?
Matinee.
Matinee.
Matinee only. So that I think that's overrated, or doesn't hold up, or just not as good as we would think, or people might think it is. And then the bottom one is straight to video, and that means you just think this movie is trash. So I'll go first. I give this movie a solid 7. I really enjoyed it. I don't, I don't know that it would be. I'll watch it again, but I don't know if it'd be something that I would just be like, "Hey, you have to see this." But I enjoyed the movie, and then grouping wise, I think I'd put it in popcorn worthy. I think it was a pretty solid movie that I would recommend it to someone.
Go ahead, Ernie. Since you're the guest.
Um, I again being older, I have more nostalgia for this movie. Um, I like the pool of the comedy. I like the action enough that it had. If it had a better story to it, a little bit better. The story wasn't awful, but it needed a little bit better story. So I'm gonna go. I don't know what I can and can't do, but I'll go 8.25. Am I allowed to do that?
Sure, why not?
One day, if y'all have me on here, I'll have pi as my number
We'll
for something.
we'll make
But
a
no,
special.
8.25 because I do have written 8 or 8.5 uh, because I don't think it's blockbuster worthy. To me, blockbuster is 9 or 10. It
Mm-hmm.
is the popcorn. I guess that's the one. I do think everybody needs to see it at least once, but be aware of language and stuff like that. Uh, I just think it's it's the Eddie Murphy movie. If you're gonna watch an Eddie Murphy movie where he doesn't have to play multiple personalities, this is the movie you watch. Is Beverly Hills Cop.
All right, Dakota.
He didn't play multiple personalities in this one.
He played
No,
characters. Yeah, I wouldn't say
yeah,
multiple
multiple
person,
characters.
not like the
Yeah,
clumps and stuff like that, but he played
yeah, yeah.
different characters.
Yeah, I kind of agree with y'all about this. I think it's a great movie. Like if you're just looking for something, scrolling through Netflix, trying to find something to watch, just like on a Friday night or something. Um, I really think it's a great movie for you to just sit down, maybe after you put the kids to bed or whatever, just to watch and just to have a good time. Like you said, not think about it. It's not really in depth. It's just a good, great comedy, but it still has a decent plot. You know, I think I went when I actually wrote this down. I think I put it down as a 7.5 out of 10, and I put it in my popcorn worthy. Um, like I said, I think it's just a good movie. I think, like you said, I think everybody needs to watch it at least once, especially people who enjoy those type of like comedy action movies. Like,
Hmm.
I think you've seen some like Central Intelligence and stuff like that that's come out of this. Um, just knowing where those started at, is kind of just a great. And I think it's a good movie to watch, knowing that.
So you're going with a 7.5, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives us an average score of 7.6 because Ernie had had to
Make you do math. I'm married to a math teacher, so I'm going to make you do math.
screw the curve. So that'll
Suggs
put
had to
it.
pull his calculator out.
I did. Yeah, I definitely did not do that in my head.
Now,
Uh,
what it helped is that way, if there's any borderline ones, it gives Beverly Hills Cop a little nudge above
is
some of
that
the other ones.
is that your nostalgia bump? Is that what we're gonna call it?
Ah,
There it is. Quarters on nostalgia
there you
bump.
go. That's like like whenever you get to Empire Strikes Back, you'll have your nostalgia bump there when you make it like 11.75. Uh, you know,
Oh, you're lowballing. Well, but hey, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We don't want to. No, spoiler alert.
yeah,
But a 7.6, so that'll put it behind last week's Raiders of the Lost Ark, which we rated as an 8.25.
which it should be. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I would definitely, if someone asked me, I would definitely recommend Indiana Jones over this one. But I would recommend both. So
It also depends on what you're looking for too.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Two very different movies.
But two great movies with two fantastic characters.
But I mean,
Mhm.
as Serge said, it's a very important piece. I mean, both of these are. So I mean,
Those
I'm
art
gonna get more.
pieces,
I am going to get more Serge quotes per capita in this than any other movie.
those art pieces were art is just weird.
Yes.
And maybe that's just me, so I maybe alienate some of the people if they do listen to this. But just seeing that, I'm like, I just the whole time I was thinking art is weird.
Well, I think that was again fish out of water. That was supposed to be on purpose.
Yeah.
How like mannequin heads on a dish that's spinning around and round and round. Yeah, it's a very important piece though.
Well, I guess that
Yeah.
about wraps up this episode. Uh, next, again, we thank everybody that listened to the debut episode last week. 20 listens may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but to us, that was a lot more than we planned. So, again, we thank everybody for that. Next week, we're hoping that we're going to have an episode out on Twister in time for the new Twisters movie that comes
Mhm.
out next weekend. But I am moving this weekend, and I'm having to move in with my parents for a little while we get the house ready. So I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna go. So I guess we'll play that by ear. But if we do get an episode out next week, it will be on Twister, 1996 disaster movie classic. And I'm
Great
sure.
movie.
Yeah, really good movie. I'm looking forward. I think it's my mom's favorite movie, and my dad does not like it as much. And it's kind of funny watching them go back and forth because
What?
look.
If it's
That,
not a horror movie, your dad doesn't like it.
This is what I've learned. This is what I've
I'm
learned about Suggs' dad.
I'm not gonna go that far, but yes, Dad does enjoy him some classic horror movies. But
Hmm.
disaster movies not really his thing. But I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, guys, you got anything you want to add?
I'm good, man. I'm just looking forward to next week. Ernie, thank you for coming on, man.
Hey,
You did a
like I
great
said,
job.
anytime I get an open mic, it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, we might have to have, just for his impersonations, we might have to have him on a little bit more often.
Hey, like I said, you give me a ring. If I'm free, I'm on. I like talking this stuff. And, I may not be Ahmed Foley, but I can still talk though.
All right, well, we're at 58 minutes right now, so I guess we're going to close up so we can technically say we got in under an hour. So thanks,
Sweet.
guys. If you listen to this, thank you, and tune in next week. Crap, did it end?